Why Gojo versus Barro isn't even close. Two of the most powerful characters from their verse, one known as the strongest sorcerer Satoru Gojo, and the other known as the man closest to God, Lille Barro. Even though both are incredibly strong, their abilities are so different that this battle would be very one-sided. So will Gojo defend his title as the strongest, or Lille Barro would prove that even the strongest sorcerer is no match for the judgment of a god? Let's find out.
見捨てられるべき弱者。どんな美しい統制を保ってきた群れも。
First, let's start with Gojo's Limitless. It's a technique inherited from the Gojo family. This powerful ability allows Gojo to manipulate space at an atomic level. The key part of this power is called Infinity, which acts like an invisible barrier, but not actually a barrier. It creates an infinite space between Gojo and any incoming attacks, causing them to slow down infinitely and never reach him. For example, when these random dudes throw knives at Gojo, they slow down more and more as they get closer to him. No matter how fast or strong the attack is, it can never actually touch him because there's always a tiny endless space between him and the attack. While using his Limitless, he can also use techniques like blue, red, and purple. Blue is a technique that creates a vacuum by attracting matter. When he is fighting, he pulls enemies towards him with immense force, causing them to lose balance and be drawn into a powerful implosion. This technique manipulates the concept of negative distance, pulling objects towards a single point. Red is the opposite of blue and repels matter with immense force. It generates a massive outward blast that obliterates anything in its path. By combining blue and red, he creates purple, which can erase anything in its path, both enemies and obstacles in a straight line. This technique is one of Gojo's most destructive abilities, capable of wiping out anything in its trajectory. Using his 6 eyes, Gojo gains an extraordinary ability to sense and understand cursed energy. He can clearly see cursed energy and even identify objects without it by observing the energy flow around them. The 6 eyes also let him scan large areas and spot people or objects from kilometers away. In battles, Gojo can see things that are invisible to others, like Sukuna's dismantle slashes. His vision is so sharp that it's compared to high-definition infrared. He can heal his injuries using reverse curse technique. He can also restore his stamina, which is crucial during prolonged battles. During the intense battle against Sukuna, he used RCT to heal himself multiple times. In the domain battle, Gojo sustained severe injuries from Sukuna's attacks, but he continuously healed his wounds using RCT. One of the most broken techniques is his domain expansion, Infinite Void. It creates a space that looks like outer space with stars and galaxies. Gojo traps his opponent inside the Limitless, which takes the form of an endless void filled with infinite knowledge. Boundless information floods the opponent's mind all at once, making them unable to move, think, or fight back. They're completely frozen. Infinite Void is almost always a guaranteed win once someone gets caught in it. So that's a quick overview of Gojo's powers and why he's called the strongest sorcerer in the Jujutsu Kaisen world. Now let's talk about the greatest creation of the Quincy Emperor Lille Barro, the leader of Yuha Elite Guards. As the first Quincy to be granted a shrift by Yuha, he holds the title X. If you don't know what that means, each Stern Ritter is assigned a letter from A to Z, representing a unique power or attribute. In Lille's case, X stands for the X-axis, which allows him to shoot a hole through anything he looks at with his eye. It's important to note that the X-axis doesn't require bullets to penetrate its target. Lille's eyes alone can create a hole in whatever he focuses on. He can also shoot reishi bullets from his gun, which he refers to as his bow. These bullets are powerful enough to destroy the cities surrounding the Soul King Palace with a single shot each. Lille's true strength lies in his shrift. When he opens his left eye, he transforms into his Volstandig form, known as Jilliel, which gives him godlike powers. His transformation includes 8 green wings, making him look both angelic and scary. This form allows him to regenerate quickly and increases his spiritual pressure and unlocks the full potential of his abilities. He also becomes intangible, meaning attacks pass right through him without hurting him. The holes in his wings can fire multiple light-based shots, and he can even create powerful blasts that can destroy large areas. However, this isn't even his strongest form. In his final transformation, Lille literally becomes immortal. His intangibility reaches perfection, making him completely untouchable by any form of attack. His X-axis ability evolves to the Omni-X-axis, allowing him to shoot through any barrier or dimension with absolute precision. His regenerative abilities become instantaneous, healing any damage in the blink of eyes, making him virtually indestructible. He can unleash a relentless barrage of divine light projectiles, capable of obliterating vast areas, enhancing all his abilities and making him an unstoppable force in battle. I mean, in short, he literally became a god. So, if these two were to engage in a hypothetical battle, Lille Barro would have a much higher chance of winning. He'd probably win 9 out of 10 battles, and that too in his base form. He wouldn't even need to use his second form. Why am I saying this? Because Lille always tries to end battles as quickly as possible. If he were to face Gojo, he could use his X-axis ability to eliminate Gojo with a single shot. And here's the kicker: Gojo's Infinity wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Yes, you heard that right. And why would that happen? Let's revisit what we know about Gojo's Infinity. It creates an infinite space between him and his opponent. As any attack or enemy tries to approach Gojo, the distance between them keeps getting divided infinitely, but it never reaches 0. This means no attack can physically reach Gojo because with every step closer, the speed of the attack slows down more and more. But Lille's X-axis is a direct counter to Gojo's Infinity, because the X-axis doesn't fire a physical bullet. Instead, it obliterates everything along the axis between the gun's muzzle and its target. It's a straight line annihilation, where everything along the line of sight is destroyed indiscriminately. When Lille locks onto his target and pulls the trigger, he generates a destructive force that doesn't rely on a physical projectile. This attack operates on a conceptual level, meaning all barriers between the gun and the target, whether walls, objects, or living beings, are wiped out in a single strike. So yes, because of this, Lille has a one-sided advantage if he attacks first. But what if we reverse the situation and Gojo attacks Lille first? Here's how it might play out. Gojo would likely initiate with either red, purple, or use blue to pull Lille towards him and hit him with a devastating black flash. However, whatever Gojo tries here might backfire on him, because if Lille feels threatened by these attacks and opens his left eye, he'll transform into his second form, where he becomes completely intangible. In this form, none of Gojo's attacks, whether it's red or purple, would have any effect on Lille. The attacks would simply pass through him. On top of that, Lille's X-axis becomes even more powerful in this state, allowing him to fire up to 24 shots at once. In this scenario, Gojo's body will turn into Swiss cheese. Now this leaves Gojo with just one real option to win this battle: his domain expansion. Although there's no definitive confirmation whether a domain would work on an intangible opponent like Lille, but I'm confident it would, because Gojo's domain doesn't physically harm the opponent, but instead overwhelms their mind. Lille's intangibility wouldn't help him here, as his mental state would still be defenseless to the infinite knowledge and sensory overload caused by Gojo's unlimited void. So yes, Gojo could potentially defeat Lille using his domain expansion, but even here, Gojo's domain expansion could theoretically be countered using a technique like domain amplification. And how Lille can do it? Let me explain. So when an opponent activates their domain expansion, the sure hit effect of the domain automatically comes into play. However, if the user activates domain amplification, this technique creates a fluid layer of energy around them that neutralizes the sure hit effect of the opponent's domain. This means the domain's full effect is nullified, stopping direct damage or impact. However, performing this requires a high amount of cursed energy. If we equate cursed energy to Reiatsu, then theoretically Lille could develop a similar technique. By manipulating his Reiatsu, Lille could create a protective layer around himself that functions like domain amplification. But honestly, this is a very advanced concept and assumes Lille could come up with and carry out such a strategy. Even if we set domain amplification aside, Lille would still win 9 out of 10 battles effortlessly. That's why this isn't close. If you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. I love hearing from you, so feel free to comment your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more exciting content. Until then.